Davis Stapleton, Manager of Family and Community Partnerships for Hartford County Public Schools. I'm here today to have a Parent Academy Real Talk to continue the conversation around school safety and security. I have some great guests here who are going to introduce themselves to our parents, starting with you.
Good morning, I'm Deputy Steg. I've been with the Hartford County Sheriff's Office for 15 years, and I've been a school resource officer this is my 8th school year.
Wow, a long time. Thank you.
I worked at Magnolia Middle, Edgewood Middle, and now it's my 5th year at Edgewood High School.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah. And I grew up in the county, and I live in Abingdon.
Nice.
As well.
Very good. Thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Mary Beth. My name is Deputy Mitchell. I'm with the Sheriff's Office now 22 years, and I've been a school resource officer for the majority of that, like 20 years. 14 years at Seamount Wright High School, and 5 years at Joppatown, and now I'm kind of finishing up at Patterson Mill Middle School. I'm also a native of Hartford County. I graduated from Aberdeen High School, and it's a pleasure being here today.
Thanks for joining us. And Mr. Brooks, our Chief of Safety and Security.
Yes, Donoven Brooks, Chief of Safety and Security for Hartford County Public Schools.
Very good. Well, thank you all again. And I know that you're very, very busy in your roles. The focus of our conversation for parents today is to really have them understand what the school resource officer provides for our schools and really what your role is every day with our schools. So just to start with you, and what does that look like? What is the school resource officer job every day?
Mm-hmm. I personally have a great job. I love being a school resource officer. But we follow like a triad theory, we call it. You know, obviously we're law enforcement, but then also we're teachers, educators, and then counselors. So the goal is to build relationship with students, have a strong relationship with students and parents and families, where they can come to us as another option, as counseling, just advice, anything like that. Teaching educators, we even go into classes and teach all types of different classes. We like special guests, and that's a great time to get to know the kids, and then they get to see us in a different role.
Wow, I didn't realize you all taught. That's pretty cool. So what kind of classes do you go into? Which classes do you join?
So we've done, there's been many. So we can do social studies, government classes. We'll talk about like Bill of Rights, law stuff, things like that. I've even been, next week I'm going to a child development class. Edgewood High School, where I'm currently assigned, there's a preschool, so I'm going to go introduce myself to the preschool students.
Nice. Nice. So officer friendly. I love that. That's so cool. So thinking about other opportunities that students have to engage with your work as school resource officer, are there any programs or opportunities they can learn from you and be a part of what your work is all about?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. We also have a criminal justice club. It's ran by the Sheriff's Office and the school resource officer at the school. So at Edgewood High School, we have a Heroes Club, and we meet once or twice a month after school, have a meeting. I'll bring in people from law enforcement, military, EMS, fire, anyone, teaching kids about law enforcement, being a first responder, and then other like jobs that they can do. Example, like to be police, we need dispatchers and people who answer the phone at when you call 911. People think of law enforcement, they don't think about, hey, I could have a job as a dispatcher or a call taker. Just to get the kids to understand there's a lot of different opportunities and as a first responder.
Wow, so career planning, thinking about, that's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We take field trips, different places around the county. We went to a bunch of field trips, take about 2 or 3 field trips a year. And it's we have a grant from Hartford County drug control policy. So we have some cool events that are, we're able to do with the kids.
Nice, to take them out in the community and have them do work in the community. And there's other opportunities as well?
Yes, Mary Beth. There's a opportunity to apply for a summer program that the Sheriff's Office has called the Sheriff's Youth Academy, and Sheriff Gaylor allows 2 weeks. Actually, it's usually the 3rd week in June or the last week in June, and then there's the 1st week of August, in which the kids, we rarely turn anybody down. Once you're accepted, we have 20 to 25 kids come out to Hartford Glen, another Hartford County Public Schools partnership that we have out there, and the kids actually stay for a full week, and they get a minimized police academy. So we make it fun. It's run by the school resource officers and not patrol guys. We make it fun for them, and so many opportunities. It's like the club Deputy Steg was talking about, but condensed in a week. So if you're not a part of the club, you can sign up for the summer program for a week, and it's totally free.
Wow, what's the age?
High school age, so completion of 9th grade
Okay.
to the completion of 12th grade. So you can actually be a senior graduating and come back in the summertime and participate in the program.
So you're sharing with students what are career opportunities for them?
That is correct.
If they participate in that, they could perhaps eventually continue in that in some
Correct.
way.
They learn marching, they get presentations from K-9, domestic violence might come out. We might even ask the Department of Natural Resources to come out, but mainly it's the Sheriff's Office functions. And then they even have their own personal time in the evening. I know Deputy Steg likes to throw the football out there with them. We play baseball and do all, the daytime is for us for learning. And then in the evenings, it's an activity for them to wind down and have fun. We have Kona Ice come out.
Ropes
Nice.
course we do.
Ropes
Nice.
course, we
We've
take
been
them to the
to
movies.
the movies.
Wow.
One
Okay.
night is a movie night.
And it's a co-ed opportunity?
That is correct.
Perfect, excellent.
That is correct.
Well, these are all things I'm sure parents would love to hear about and to get more information, so we'll put that resource up for parents to learn more about, so thank you.
And I'd like to add that academy is culminated with a graduation ceremony for the participants in the youth academy.
Nice, very good. Well, it's nice that you're not just reaching out and doing that crime prevention piece and support, but you're also preparing our young people to perhaps one day have careers in this, so that's excellent. Thank you so much. And just thinking about what our parents need to know, right, from a school resource officer's view,
Yeah.
what are some things that you wish parents knew and your role and the support parents can give you every day?
Right, so I'm a parent as well. It is a tough time, as we're all seeing in the news now. It's a tough time. They're talking about uptick in violence in schools and a lot of depression with children. One thing for parents to help us out, to give HCPS and Harford County Sheriff's Office a helping hand with their kids, is to continually watch them, watch their attitudes. If there's a big change, you might want to speak to them about it. And then let us know at the school, either be a counselor or a school resource officer or a friend, a good friend, a trusting friend, if they're going through something. With the COVID, the 2 years, they didn't really miss it. They did virtual, but you really missed the social aspect of school when we went through the COVID thing. And it's a tough time coming back into that. So we're seeing, Deputy Steg and I are seeing a lot of conflict when it comes to civil respect and things like that, and we're relearning that. So for parents, I would just say keep an eye on the children and listen to them, and then notify us in the schools or school counselor if they believe their children's going through some kind of depression or some kind of disagreement with another kid or even an adult in the building.
Wow, and so, Mr. Brooks, thinking about that as a parent, I'll be honest, I tend to want to be private. If I feel like my child's struggling, I don't necessarily want to reach out, because I think parents sometimes think it's their fault that their child might be behaving in some way or struggling in some way. But it sounds like you work every day with school resource officers, and you really do address the conflicts every day, and having that parent support might be a good way to address some of that.
Yeah, so both of the deputies make very good points. So right now, it is a very stressful time. There are a lot of different stressors in the lives of many families, and we're not going to know what all those stressors are. And to your point, there is a level of privacy. There is a level of guardedness in protecting, your personal private information. However, if there are situations going on in a student's life that is impacting their conduct, their academics, their social responsibility in a school environment, then these are things that we really we don't need to know everything, but we need to know what we can do to support the student. We need to know what we can do to prevent a conflict arising, right? Because what we're seeing sometimes is that conflicts are arising because people are just stressed about different things, and we don't know what has occurred in the lives of people during the time period that we were in a lockdown. In my own family, we've experienced a lot of different things that happen during that lockdown period with different family members. And so those things can manifest themselves in attitude, behavior, things like that. So one of the things that parents can really help us do is de-escalate situations. So we don't need to necessarily know all the intricacies of what's going on in your private life, but if you hear that your child is having a conflict with another student in school, if you hear that your child is having a conflict with a teacher or a staff member or something like that, to be able to come to us, have a conversation with us, so we can start to work on de-escalation, so we can identify where we can support the family, support the student, and support the parent. Then what it does is it creates a culture and climate of trust. It creates a culture and climate of support, right? And it also sends a message to the rest of the community, the student body, and our parents that we are about problem solving and not just reacting to problems in the aftermath. We're about preventing incidents and situations from occurring. Because, I mean, it's an old cliche, right? But, you know, an ounce of prevention, you know, is worth a pound of cure. So, I mean, so that's where we are in this time period. And we work really closely with our school resource officers. And I like to think of our school resource officers as ambassadors to safety and education. I mean, Deputy Steg already talked about some of the things that they do to go into classrooms to build capacity in our students when it comes to safety and security, personal safety, overall environmental safety, and the environment that we exist in within the school. So those things are important.
Wonderful. And I have to say, as a parent, I didn't realize there was that teacher counselor part of that triad. So it's good to know that that's there. And for that counselor-teacher part, I know you both have mentioned before, there are resources for parents if they need that help. If they're seeing some concerning behavior around substance use or other kinds of violent tendencies, there's resources for them to reach out to. Is that right?
That is correct. I know Harford County Public School has resources for that as well. There's also parent mediation that Harford County Public Schools has the opportunity for parents to engage in, and also the county as well. And the SROs can always provide parents and children, customers, with that information on county basically mediation and things like that. And there's also the county drug programs and things. And we're kind of we can be viewed as the first step when parents don't know where to go. We get that a lot. Oh, my kid's 16 years old. I don't know what to do. He has this or she has this problem. And then they don't also automatically know that we're a resource for that.
Right.
So we want the parents to know that we're a resource, as well as our partners and team members from Harford County Public Schools.
So how does a parent, if they're feeling desperate or concerned about their child, how do they find a school resource officer? How do they reach out?
So we're at the school every day. And what's great is my office is even in the main office. So anytime you come up to the school or call, just whatever school, call that number and ask for the school resource officer. And Mr. Brooks, Chief Brooks brought up a good point. I always think our goal is to build trust. Build trust to kids, but also the families. So we sometimes parents will call, kids struggling, just give us that information. People think of us as police, they don't want to talk to the police about certain things, but as SROs, like I said before, our job is to build a relationship. So not necessarily having bring a kid to my office and having a conversation, but just knowing the student's going through issues and see them in the hallway, saying hi, talking to them, engaging with a little bit more. We're in the lunch, we're at all the after-school activities, we're always there. And sometimes I just think it helps us when we can know that, hey, someone needs help, kid needs help. So we can kind of go seek that kid and not make it a big deal, but just kind of just see how they're doing, personally, and build that relationship with them.
Great. And Mr. Brooks, just to wrap us up, just to be clear, school resource officers are in all of our schools, some of our schools?
They're in school. We have school resource officers in all of our secondary schools.
So that means middle and high?
Middle and high schools.
Okay.
And then because we have different jurisdictions, so our school resource officers come to us from the Harford County Sheriff's Office, the Bel Air Police Department, the Havre de Grace Police Department, and the Aberdeen Police Department. And so what we have is we have direct services in our secondary schools, middle and high schools, where we actually have SROs that are assigned to that specific school. What we have is indirect supportive adequate law enforcement coverage for our elementary schools. So we have our elementary schools broken into clusters, and those clusters are patrolled by a resource officer who's responsible for that cluster of elementary schools.
Okay, so elementary still gets support as well.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
great.
And so what we under the Maryland Safe to Learn Act, school districts had to provide what's called adequate law enforcement coverage. Now, there's no cookie cutter standard for providing adequate law enforcement coverage because every jurisdiction is different. But here, the approach that we decided to take based on the level of manpower that we have, at our disposal from our different agencies, was to cluster our schools that are serviced by the Harford County Sheriff's Office. And we do the same thing in Aberdeen and in Havre de Grace. Havre de Grace decided some years ago that they would assign direct services to an elementary school in the Havre de Grace area. So as we continue to expand our school safe liaison program, we'll look to put some direct supports in that again fill the gap between law enforcement, staff, community, and our students, which is done through our school safe liaison program.
Wonderful. And so every school has got coverage, which is good to know.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your service. I know parents are reassured by hearing this information that you're there and that you are a resource. I do think, to your point, you see that uniform and you might be, I don't necessarily know if I want to reach out, but to be honest, it's just so great to hear that that's your role. You're there to support. And I think that's a great resource for our parents to know about. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the Parent Academy Real Talk. We'll see you next time.